You're about to see a huge amount of footage of various stoves in action. Over the last year, I have been lucky enough to enjoy dozens upon dozens upon dozens of meals prepared outside. And yes, it is mainly pasta. I'm a simple man and I make no excuses for that. The stoves you're going to see throughout this video will be the Kettle, which is on screen now, which burns sticks and bits of wood and things like that. The Trangia alcohol stove that you just saw me make my lovely hot chocolate and marshmallows with. And coming up in the next woodland footage, the FireMaple FMS X1. So the idea of this video is something a little bit different. Normally I'd be talking in depth and detail and showing you weights and measurements of all of these various devices in action. But here I just want to show you loads of the footage I've collected of me eating noodles and pasta in various outdoor environments, and generally talk about why I absolutely love this sort of simple cooking and just these lovely little trips that I do where it might be just me on my own, or it might be me and my other half, or me and the dog. And we just go out. Sometimes we don't sleep, sometimes we go out in the middle of the daytime and just spend an hour or two walking down by a river, walking through the woodlands, and then when we feel like it, set up our little stove and have, as I say, just something very simple to eat. I'd say these little trips out with a stove have become one of my most frequently enjoyed activities in the great outdoors. As I say, it doesn't have to be an overnight camp, it can be a morning trip, an evening trip. I mean, I've had porridge on some occasions and then gone back and got in bed in the early mornings. Yes, I am a bit of a weirdo, and yes, I do very much like early mornings, especially in the summer when you've got those ridiculously early, very, very silent sunrises. This is probably one of my favourite little moments from all of my eating outdoors. After my first disastrous attempt at solo camping, on the way to the campsite, somebody was hunting me down in the woods with a torch, and then I still literally ran a few miles up the road. I mean, I jogged and then walked breathlessly rather than ran a few miles. And then I still, once I felt I was far enough away to safety, sat down and ate some pasta from the Trangia alcohol stove. But this is really the sort of thing I want to say, that it's just a wonderful activity. And as long as you're safe and you're sensible, especially in the potentially really dry summer months with an extremely flammable ground surrounding you, because it's easy to start a fire by accident and very difficult to put a fire out deliberately. So, assuming you're using a decent level of common sense and safety measures, I honestly think that these little meals prepared outdoors can be some of the most relaxing and pleasant things you could do. Certainly for me, I find them almost literally meditative experiences, and it's something I've said repeatedly in my little camping adventure videos about the Trangia alcohol stove. It takes a lot longer to boil up the water with that than it does with either the Kettle or the gas of the FireMaple. However, that slow process and the silence of the flame dancing around, especially in the evening, in the dusk, before the flame is dazzling in the darkness of night, but after it's become very visible in the fading light of dusk, just sat there for a few minutes with a bit of water slowly coming up to the boil, the flame dancing and nature around you, it really can take you to a completely other calm place for just a few moments here and there as you're watching that flame dance. I suppose I should also say here that that doesn't mean you should lose concentration when dealing with a naked flame in the great outdoors, my friends. Perhaps it's just that I am an over romantic old fool who's looking towards the second half of his life now and dreaming of a misspent youth gathered around the campfire and recapturing that sort of experience and almost the nostalgia for a time I never knew. But as I look at this on screen now, using a flint and steel, yes, I know that's not technically what it is, to light a little alcohol stove literally at the edge of a river, and then just sit there preparing the simplest of food. We've got a pot noodle here. Or it's not even a real pot noodle, I don't think. It might be an off brand pot noodle with salad, cheese, all wrapped up in a tortilla. It doesn't get much simpler than that. But just look at every single thing about this on screen. This is everything I could have ever wanted growing up, and now that I am a grown up, at least on paper, I honestly think this is about the most perfect activity I could ever participate in. And the only thing that makes it any better is when my wonderful other half is out here doing these things with me. Don't tell her this though, my friends. I think sometimes me and Gizmo have the karma times out. He's never once told me how wrong and incorrectly I'm doing these things. I'll keep that between me and anyone watching this video though. Shh. On a serious note, though, I really do believe that this is one of those simple activities that's got a relatively low cost, not a zero cost, don't get me wrong. And of course, there's some effort in walking out and finding somewhere to set your kit up and then do the simple motions of boiling some water and eating whatever you're eating. But I do think loads of people would really enjoy this and really benefit from having an excuse to just go and sit down in nature and basically be quiet amongst the trees or by the river or wherever you happen to be, just for a few minutes while a simple activity takes place. Something like the FireMaple with its gas canister it's less peaceful because it's got that gas roar as it really, really rapidly heats the water. So it's a quicker boil, so that might be far more suited to a lot of people, especially in the colder weather. I'll say that much. I do love the Trangia, but I know that as the weather gets colder and colder and the water starts at a cooler and cooler temperature, I'm going to be sat there rubbing my hands together, putting my gloves on and off as I watch the water glacially boil. Hopefully not literally glacially. But as I say, back on topic, I really do think loads of people would enjoy doing this sort of activity. You can see on screen here, I took both the Trangia and the FireMaple out, so that at the same time I could have water boiling for my hot chocolate and get my pasta going. So I could sit here with a hot chocolate and pasta butties at the same time, all absolutely piping hot together. So yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit, I suppose. So for full disclosure, the Kelly kettle I was actually given, I think, over a decade ago by the company. And the fact that I've still got it says that I do, in fact, enjoy it. However, I would say it's not really practical for general camping purposes. That's more if you're going to be in the same spot for a longer period of time, which is why this video's mainly been the FireMaple and the Trangia. As I say, the Trangia is slow but incredibly peaceful and a very, very simple piece of kit, and it's my favourite because of that. However, it would be difficult to say that the FireMaple, with its much quicker boil time, it's still a self-contained unit but a bit heavier than the Trangia set that I've got, isn't, I suppose, technically the better package. But what do you want the most? The technical best item? Sometimes you really do want that in strong winds, for example, such as you're seeing me wrestle with here as I try to ever increase the solidity of this simple lean-to tarp shelter. So if you want a really efficient, fast boiling bit of kit, it's fantastic and I wouldn't fault it and I use it all the time. I just happen to prefer the calm, slow, plodding nature of the Trangia flickering away in front of me. So yeah, just a few random thoughts there. I'll leave a few Amazon associate links down below to some of these items, or very similar if I can't find the exact ones. And if you buy through those, I will get a commission, so it's a great way to support these videos if you are looking at buying something like this anyway. If not, then I hope you've enjoyed just watching me boil an awful lot of water and pasta and noodles and stuff. Until the next time, though, I'd like to say a tremendously big thank you to all of my supporters, channel members, PayPal supporters, Coffee supporters, Facebook subscribers, and just anybody who's ever spent any time watching me talk about the great outdoors and fail to make it through the night on a spooky camping adventure and so on. Until the next time, my friends, keep it bivvy worthy, keep it tarp worthy, keep it flame worthy, keep it interesting, have an absolutely fantastic day, and of course, my friends, farewell.